The Gophers' next NFL pass catcher is back on the roster in 2023. Huge. Guess who's back? Brevyn Spann-Ford.
You are Locked On Golden Gophers.
No matter what we're going to do here, we're just going to keep rowing.
Your daily podcast on the Minnesota Golden Gophers.
However it turns out, we're just going to keep rowing.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
We're just going to keep rowing, and keep rowing.
You're listening to Locked On Golden Gophers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name's Kane Rob, host of the podcast, former collegiate football video coordinator and recruiting assistant, here to talk Golden Gophers with you each and every day of the week, Monday through Friday. And we got big news, folks, big news. And you're hearing about it here first, outside of the player himself. So definitely, for more latest and greatest, hit subscribe on YouTube so you never are behind when it comes to the latest information for Golden Gophers. Be sure to hit subscribe on YouTube. Follow wherever you get the podcast at Locked On Golden Gophers. But no further, we must wait. Brevyn Spann-Ford has made a decision, and guess who's back? That's right. Major news for the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Brevyn Spann-Ford, tight end, is returning for another season here in 2023 with the Golden Gophers, playing with Ethan Kaliakmanis for a full season. The sky is the limit. And what are we getting back here? Well, Gophers fans, you know what we're getting back. We are getting back the offensive graded third tight end in the entire nation when it came to PFF's grading system for tight ends this past season, third in the nation of 456 qualified tight ends. 90.6 grade on PFF, only behind Michael Mayer, who's projected to be a first-round pick in this next 2023 draft coming up, and then also behind Lingenfelter at Army. Otherwise, receiving grade-wise, Brevyn was 14th of 297 qualified tight ends in the nation from a receiving grade standpoint, and then from a run block grade standpoint, he was 5th in the nation of 421 qualified tight ends. We're talking one of the best tight ends out there when it comes to film and what tight ends need to do. Run block, pass catching, weapon. His build is built for the NFL. We've talked about this before, but he's coming back to really help set the map. Something similar to what we saw with John Michael Schmitz, being able to go and take yourself from maybe a second, third, fourth round pick and try to really raise your draft stock in one final year. We're seeing that with Tyler Nubin and now Brevyn Spann-Ford as well. He was a Big Ten honorable mention this past season. And, you know, it's kind of a darn shame that he was an honorable mention as opposed to the third team, because to be honest, Stover over at Ohio State had no business being in front of him. Brevyn had him beat in every statistical category except for touchdowns, where Stover had 5 touchdowns and Brevyn had 2 touchdowns. And the difference being, Stover was on Ohio State, which was one of the highest passing offenses in the entire country, and threw the ball 111 more times than the Gophers did. And the Gophers were quite opposite on the spectrum, being one of the lower passing teams in the entire nation, yet Brev had him beat in receptions, receiving yards, better as a run blocker, and he was only 3 touchdowns behind. So look, the committee got that one wrong. I'll fight people for that one. We can have a discussion, an argument, whatever you want, but Stover should not have been the third team. It should have been Brevyn Spann-Ford. Now, on top of that, he was third in the Big Ten in receptions by tight end. He was third in the Big Ten in receiving yards by tight end, first in the blocking grade by Big Ten, and second in the receiving grade by Big Ten in the Big Ten. So we're talking about that, and those options that were first and second in the Big Ten, they're gone. Durham, Purdue, gone. Laporta, Iowa, gone. So the opportunity is there for Brevyn to absolutely just destroy the market and really raise his own value, while also giving Gophers fans something to cheer about, again, with such a beast out there on the inside playing tight end, not only in the receiving game, but also in the blocking game. It's a big time returnee that we will look to absolutely set the TE position on fire in 2023. Get stoked, Gophers fans, because he's back. Now, before we get into what else this means for the Gophers moving forward, we have to talk about our friends over at LinkedIn Jobs who are bringing you this episode today. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business, and you want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available, especially as you head into the new year of 2023. New year, new me. You want to hire the new right person. So definitely check out LinkedIn Jobs, and you can create a free job post over there. You create it really easy and simple. Free job post again. You post a purple hiring frame on your own personal profile so that way others can see and recommend people for your position. And then you can use simple tools like screening questions to help get the right candidates in for interviews for your job. It's one of the reasons why LinkedIn Jobs is #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. So head on over to linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Again, that's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to get qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. And again, you can do it for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, Gophers fans, thank you so much for making Locked On Golden Gophers your first listen when it comes to Gophers sports. And when you are done with that, make sure you find out the latest and greatest in sports stories over at Locked On Sports Today, where they're wrapping up the top sports stories in 30 minutes or less to make sure you're keeping up with whatever is trending in the sporting world. Now, we're talking about one thing that is majorly trending in Minnesota and for Gophers fans, and that is Brevyn Spann-Ford returning to the Gophers in 2023. This offense next year has the ability to be something that the Gophers haven't seen in a few years. In fact, I am talking about the 2019 level of passing numbers. That is definitely on the table and an ability for this Gophers team in 2023, even with a tough schedule. Now, it doesn't mean that we're going to have 2 wide receivers that are first team all conference and over 1,000 yards. That's not what I'm trying to say here. But what I am trying to say is it does mean spread across the entirety of pass catchers, including Brevyn Spann-Ford, including all of the receiving options we have that are in this room, Dalen Wright, Crab, Daniel Jackson, the transfers coming in and Elijah Spencer and Corey Crooms, the young guys coming in across the entire room of so much depth. You could see the passing numbers go past what we saw in 2019. 2019, we had 3,293 total passing yards across the quarterback room. And honestly, I truly believe it could be even higher for Ethan Kaliak-Manis, who has an incredible, immense ceiling. The talent, we've already talked about it. We're going to talk about it so much more over the offseason with Ethan, but having so much depth and so many options, it's going to be a different look for the Gophers. And that's not even just with the wide receivers and the tight ends, but you're talking about running backs like Darius Taylor, like Zach Evans, like Marquise Williams, who are all massive threats when it comes to catching the ball out of the backfield, having scat back experience, having slot receiver experience. Look, everybody can catch on this Gophers team, this Gophers offense moving forward in 2023, and having a quarterback weapon talent-wise that we haven't seen in quite some time, maybe not ever in the past couple decades of Gophers sports. It's time to get excited. Now, Brevyn has the talent to be a top 3 tight end in the 2024 class, which is the new NFL draft class he would move into, having returned to the Gophers for 2023. Honestly, the only tight end that will have more hype heading into the 2024 draft group for sure from the bat is Brock Bowers over at Georgia. He's going to have the hype because he's had the hype since his true freshman year where he absolutely blew up. But outside of that, look, NFL scouts are taking notice and taking note on Brevyn Spann-Ford. In fact, we will have more thoughts and news from a couple scouts themselves on what stands out with Brevyn, where he can look to improve, but what his strengths are. And I'll be sure to have those on a very near episode coming out. So you'll definitely have more information from a scout's perspective as well. But Brevyn can truly be one of the top 3, top 5, definitely top 3 tight ends in the class of 2024. At the NFL level, though, Brevyn could be more valuable than Brock Bowers, in my opinion. And people might take that and be like, this dude has no idea what he's talking about. He's a homer, all that's good stuff. No. Why I say that is because they have similar upside in the receiving game. Now, Brock Bowers might have shown more flashes, might have more speed. Sure. But Brevyn has similar upside in the receiving game. We've seen it. The Gophers haven't used it to the full extent. Hopefully they will in this final season with him, but he is way better in the pass blocking or run blocking game, way better in the run blocking game. And that gives you more threat in the long term when you're looking at NFL because you're on the field more. You're doing more for a team. Think about what George Kittle does for the San Francisco 49ers. Fitting into something like that where you can be a massive blocker on top of a massive receiving option, sky's the limit. So even Travis Kelce holds his own in the blocking game. Having that ability sets you apart and really raises your stock. He's proven that he has that blocking ability and he will continue to with the Gophers team, but continuing to prove that he is a monster in the receiving game will be huge. Now, this is a tight end who had the second receiving yards on the team, 481 receiving yards, only 3 yards behind Daniel Jackson, who led the team. And then he was second in touchdowns as well. And that's on a Gophers team that didn't pass the ball very much. In fact, they were like 120th of 131 teams in pass attempts this past season. Now it looks like that trend is going to change and we're going to get more balanced. We're going to have an even possibly higher powered, more passing attack. So that will mean more opportunities for Brevyn Spann-Ford to continue to capitalize and increase his draft stock and increase the Gophers' chances of winning big games, getting more and more involved, which is something that fans have been calling for season after season. Well, the time is now and it's coming. If Coach Fleck and Coach Shiraka don't capitalize even more on this opportunity with him coming back, that would be a massive failure in my opinion, to be honest, because he is a mismatch. You hear it from the Big Ten Network analysts when we play on those games. You hear it from guys like Ron Johnson, who's like, get this man the ball more. You hear it from other fans. You hear it from me here on the podcast. You hear it from Ryan Burns. Everybody in the nation is talking about this guy needs more opportunities. Well, here's your chance because he's coming back and he's an NFL talent. So although the usage uptick has been great this past season, you know he's a mismatch and you have seen it firsthand. You are seemingly gearing up to be more balanced and have a greater passing attack. Feed this man, especially in the red zone. If he doesn't have 6 touchdowns this next season, that is not acceptable usage because that is how much of a weapon he can be in that area. Ethan and Brevyn started to show some chemistry and come alive in the Penn State whiteout game in one of the only effective drives we had in that game. And as the season closed, they got better and better, and that chemistry started to develop as well. Now a whole offseason of chemistry between those two could build something really special. So I want to bring up a couple other things that people aren't thinking about with this decision and what it means for the Gophers overall as they continue to develop. We have to talk about that coming up next. But first, a message from the NHTSA. You're hanging out with some friends and you're putting a few drinks back. A few become a few too many. As the evening comes to an end and people start to head out, you think of calling for a ride. Nah, you live nearby. You can make it home okay. It's no big deal. What are the odds you'll get pulled over anyway? And even so, what's the worst that could happen? Your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you lose your job, you total your car, you kill someone. Everyone knows about the risks of drunk driving. The results are tragic and often deadly. However, that still doesn't stop everyone from getting behind the wheel while under the influence. That's why police officers are out there right now looking for impaired drivers on our roads to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again, play it safe, and plan ahead and get a ride. It only takes one mistake to change your life or someone else's forever. Drive sober or get pulled over. Gophers fans, we're wrapping this thing up, but it's not just next year that could be impacted by this decision. In fact, it has longer reaching abilities with Brevyn Spann-Ford coming back for the Gophers. Not only will this be great for the offense in a tough schedule year against teams like Ohio State, Michigan, North Carolina, even Eastern Michigan is a higher quality opponent when it comes to the non-conference. So this will be huge for that, but it is also great for the Gophers' young talent development. I'm thinking of Sam Peters in specific getting to work in a room with Brevyn Spann-Ford for an entire year, an entire summer, an entire fall camp. That is going to be perfect for his development, and it could do wonders for his game long term. On top of working with Gears for another year and helping him develop and grow, this is huge for the whole tight end room as a whole. And then you're talking about you get 2 of PFF's top 5 graded tight ends back at the University of Minnesota. Both Brevyn, who was graded as the number 3 tight end in the entire nation in PFF's grading system, and Nick Callerup, who was a tight end blocking machine and was rated as the 5th best tight end in PFF's TE grading. You get both of them back. That's massive. So congratulations to Gophers fans for getting to see this talent for another year. Congratulations to Brev for making his decision, and happy birthday to Brev, which he made this decision on his birthday. And we can't wait to see you help in this passing game, in this passing attack, and taking it to the next level. That's going to do it for us today on Locked On Golden Gophers. Get excited, Gophers fans, as we also head towards the Pinstripe Bowl heading this weekend on Thursday. And we're also going to have a co-host of the show every once in a while, Tristan Spann-Ford, back for predictions for that game. Tune in, be ready, hit subscribe so you do not miss it. This is Kane Rob signing off. Row the boat, Sky Yuma, go Gophers.